everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my channel. This week I am going to be picking back up with a series that I was doing last year on this channel, which is examining American Girl outfits for historical accuracy. You guys have honestly been loving this series and have been asking me repeatedly to continue it. So here we are 6 months later and I'm finally doing the next characters within this series. I have already done in chronological order all of the historicals from like Kaya, though granted I barely touched on Kaya, but Kaya, Felicity, Elizabeth, etc. all the way through Samantha. And today we are picking up with the next historical characters in that chronological order, which are Rebecca and Claudie. Now, Rebecca has a pretty decently sized collection. She was released back in 2009 and she has not been retired, so they have been releasing more outfits for her over the years. Claudie is a newer character. She was released in 2022 and she has unfortunately a very tiny collection, particularly when it comes to historical outfits, though I will touch more on that when we get over to Claudie. Now, Rebecca holds a special place in my heart. Beyond the fact that obviously my name is Rebecca, she actually has a really similar family history to my family history. So much so that it's actually a little bit scary. So for those of you who maybe are not familiar with Rebecca's story, she is a first-generation immigrant from Russia and she and her family live in New York City. Her dad owns a shoe store and she and all of her family live in a really small apartment. They are not well off. In fact, she helps out in the shoe store and finds different ways to help her family earn more money. And she lives there with, I believe, her 2 twin sisters and her 2 brothers and her mom and dad. And then I believe her grandma and grandpa live on another floor in the same apartment building. A really big component of her story is the fact that she is Jewish and in many ways feels very othered in the community. And also she wants to be an actress. So again, I want to kind of harp on the fact that her family is poor. Her collection does not reflect that in the slightest. So that's something that right away is very historically inaccurate about Rebecca's collection, because we are going to approach looking at the accuracy of her collection as someone who is very well off, not Rebecca the character who would never have been able to afford like any of these outfits basically. So just keep that in mind from the get-go as we begin looking through her collection. And frankly, the same thing is true of Claudie, except that Claudie's collection is so small that actually she probably could have had the outfits because there's 3 of them. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and start with Rebecca's collection. This is Rebecca in her original meet outfit when she was first released. And if we look under her paisley shawl here, which I think a paisley shawl is actually quite accurate for her and also her story and setting, etc. If we look under that, we see a fairly basic dress with some asymmetry over here, a nice drop waist. We have nice black stockings, button boots, and a cute little hat right here. This is actually really quite accurate. And frankly, this is even accurate for her socioeconomic status. So yeah, I love this outfit. I love the velvet details, the collar, the little trim here, the cuffs, etc. And the outfit itself is kind of a herringbone twill in this deep cranberry color. And frankly, it is pretty fantastic. I really think that they nailed everything. This looks quite like actual outfits of the time. Like for example, now this is a coat, but this is a photograph of a girl in 1914, and it looks pretty much just like Rebecca's meet outfit. Granted, color-wise, it might be a little bit on the boring side for what you come to expect from American Girl, especially nowadays, but it's so accurate, and so frankly, for that reason, I love it. Unfortunately, during the American Girl Be Forever redesign, they changed Rebecca's meet outfit. Now, honestly, this is not the worst thing in the world, but when we compare it to her original meet outfit, It needs a lot of work. I feel like they were going for something like this right here, which you can see a lot of similarities between this and that, but this is definitely a more modern take on a style like that. I mean, we've got kind of I think this is almost like a boucle type jacket right up here, just the fabric used. Obviously, you've got that bright color. There's not really a problem with that. I mean, that image before, that was basically the same color. And I do like that we have the contrast cuffs, but we have this weird, like really, really high-waisted ribbon here. And then this one is two separate pieces. The under piece is actually a weird little like tank top dress. Like it has a tank top attached to the skirt, and I think that they've done that so that the skirt will sit a little bit lower, because everything of this era really was drop-waisted for children. This is an extremely drop-waisted era. You see them actually quite low, in fact, those waistlines, and that prevailed honestly all the way through Claudie's era as well. We think of adult fashions as being drop-waisted in the 1920s, but it really, really was all throughout children's fashions in the 19-teens and even prior to that in the 19-aughts. So this, because of this ribbon, it's really not reading drop-waisted, despite the fact that this coat part is a little longer. It's just misses the mark and doesn't quite do it the way that the other outfit originally did, especially like we've got little Mary Jane shoes instead of the button boots that were so great on that first outfit. So yeah, this one, it doesn't do it for me, even though I can see where it was going. Now, Rebecca's stories don't follow that like 6-book outline that we're so familiar with from all of the original American Girls, like learns a lesson, saves the day, changes for, etc. So her outfits don't kind of go with those books like that. Generally speaking, she has an outfit for each book, but the books are not in any sort of particular order like that. So I'm not going to go in any sort of order either. So this is her school outfit. There's actually quite a lot of similarities between this school outfit and the last one that we looked at, because this again is based on one of those weird jumper dresses, which, like, to my knowledge, that wasn't a thing. That just, like, it just wasn't a thing. And in fact, frankly, having like a sort of two-piece outfit also wasn't a thing. And even more so, really, you don't see knitwear in the 19-teens except for sportswear. So like if this had been an athletic outfit and she was wearing this little knit sweater, totally, like I get it. And I like the use of the houndstooth, but it just doesn't do it for going to school. Like if we look at this advertisement right here, this is an advertisement for school fashions for 1914, back to school fashions. So that's really what we should have been seeing out of her school outfit, her learns a lesson type outfit. And this one, although it's cute, and it has that sort of drop waist effect, but not low enough nearly. And I love that it again came with button boots, and we have stockings with this one as well, which is great, and a hair bow. The hair bows should have been even bigger, frankly. Hair bows were a big thing during the 19-teens. It still just doesn't quite hit the right note. Now, I think you'll find throughout this video that Rebecca's collection really has a lot of highs and lows as far as things that really hit that nail on the head and things that just miss the mark. And this is one that luckily hits the nail on the head. This is her summer dress right here. And as you can see from this image, this is a copy. I love it. They copied an advertisement for a girl's summer dress of the era. It's basically exactly the same. I think that that was really fantastic, which is funny because the one thing about this is that it does have a higher waist, but as you can see from this advertisement for this specific dress, that actually worked. You again do not see high waists very often in this era. You really always see low waists across the board, but in this instance, this dress really, really nailed it. This is such a cute little cotton summer dress with the ruffled sleeves, a little floral print on the dress. Now, one caveat to this is that it was designed to be worn without stockings, which would not have happened. In every outfit of this era, down to the bathing suit, there would have been stockings worn with the outfit, and there are many outfits here that did not come with any sort of stockings or socks. So I don't know if you were just expected to use them from other pieces in her collection, or if they thought summer, who wears tights in summer? Girls in the 19-teens do. So yeah, that's the one caveat. We've got little Mary Janes that come with this outfit, but no stockings. However, the hat is pretty spot on as well. Speaking of spot on summery dresses, we have Rebecca's lace dress. I'm hoping that this isn't being blown out too much with the lighting so that you can see all of the details, because I love this dress. I love all of the lace trim, all of the pin tucks everywhere. We've got that nice, really dropped waist here with the pin tucks exaggerating the waist, and then all of the eyelet lace just like everywhere on this dress. The cute white with the little pink details. Perfection. As we can see from an advertisement like this one right here, these dresses were like ubiquitous in this era. You see so many of these dresses in summer. If it wasn't something like this, it was usually like a sailor style dress, and those were the most popular dresses for summer, especially for girls of this era. So I really think that they nailed this, with the exception again of no stockings, but everything else, spot on. Now, Rebecca has had 3 dresses for the holidays, really it's for Hanukkah, over the various years since she's been released, because she has been available for so long. She's had 2 specifically Hanukkah dresses, and then she has had also one dress that is just called holiday dress. I don't actually own that holiday dress because I find it to be somewhat similar but not quite as good as her 2 Hanukkah dresses. However, I will pop up a picture when we get to that in a moment so that you can see a little bit about it. So first off, we have her original Hanukkah dress, which is this one right here. Now again, this is a place where American Girl was spot on, because as you can see right here, this is a copy of that dress. I love it when they do this, and frankly they do it like across all of their lines. You can see a lot of times where they've gone and they've actually just copied something, whether that was from like a photograph, a fashion plate, an advertisement, etc. It just makes my heart sing to see them do that, and really makes me so happy. So I was very excited to discover the original advertisement that this one was based on right here. By the way, all of these images that I'm showing you are all in my Pinterest board, which I'll link down below in the description so that you can study them in more detail. And there's additional plates in there as well. Plus that's where you can also find all of the plates and images from even all of the past videos in this series, which of course, if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, that is also linked down below in the description, where you can find a playlist for all those videos. But yeah, this one is basically perfect. It even comes with the stockings, which is so great, and a great big hair bow, which I just absolutely love. I love all the layering details on this. I love the scallop details both here and on the sleeves. Really low drop waist, to the point where frankly, this is a difficult dress to get your doll on a stand in, because the stand typically, for me at least, I like to put it up and around their waist inside their dress. And the bottom of this dress is actually quite narrow, so it does make it hard to put the doll on the stand. But on the flip side, they nailed the dress, so I don't care if it's a little bit difficult. Now, I do love the other Hanukkah dress as well. That is this one. This, by the way, I designed to actually be my mini-me. She's my first doll that I ever customized. So I did a little bit of a face up on her, gave her a little bit of freckles and blush, and I actually gave her a new wig too. I wish that my hair was this color. It does need to be re-dyed, but yeah, I thought that it was kind of gonna be fun to make a custom, so I did this one earlier this year. But this is the other Hanukkah dress. This is the one that's still currently available from American Girl, as far as I know. As long as that is still true, I'll link this one down in the description in case you wanted to get it, since most of these dresses are not available except for when we get to Claudie's collection. But this Rebecca dress is still available, and honestly, it's beautiful. Now that said, it's really nice for like probably more of an adult of this era. And I do want to put a caveat on that in my research, I really couldn't find like evening or fancy dresses for children. I couldn't find any advertisements that featured evening or fancy dresses for children. So that said, this is a style that is fairly close to what an adult would have worn for evening, with some exceptions, but like it's not bad. You can definitely see the reference points for adult fancy clothing of this era. And honestly, the fabrics on this dress are just so exquisite. This is not a dress for children. I don't know why they decided to sell this for children. A child would destroy this dress in a moment because you have to be so careful with it. But it's actually made up of a couple layers. So we have kind of a soft under layer, and then we have a really fine net with embroidery around it, and it's got kind of a point de spree netting throughout. And then on top we have lace shoulders, and then they're covered over by the netting as well, and then the embroidery on the bodice and the satin bow and everything. It's beautiful. It really is, and highly delicate. And I love her little rhinestones on her shoes. And of course it comes with stockings, great, and small hair bow. Not big enough, but does come with a little hair bow. But yeah, I love this dress. I think it is so gorgeous, but it's really more along the lines of what an adult would have worn as opposed to a child. Similarly, this is an image right here of her holiday dress. I'm not exactly sure when they released this one. I think it was kind of in between the two Hanukkah dresses. This one is actually even more historically accurate for an adult. The way that that overskirt kind of curves out a little like that, that's something that you see a lot on adult evening wear. You see that layered look that kind of has that flare of the upper layer. So I do really like that, but I just felt like I didn't necessarily need that one in my collection. Very similar to that, actually, in a really similar shape, is Rebecca's Be Forever movie dress. And again, I love the textures of this. I love the colors. The cut is very accurate for an adult for evening wear of this era. And I mean, it's just fantastic. This is cut velvet up here. It's really beautiful. The embroidered sash that's built into the dress, little chiffon sleeves, and then that satin underlayer. If this were a little more accurate, this satin underlayer would actually be even tighter to the body with this flaring out above. That was very, very popular for adult fashion. Nice big bow for this one, so I've gotta love that. No stockings though, but really, really cute shoes. I don't know if they focused so much on her shoes because her dad owned a shoe store in the story, but Rebecca's collection actually has some of the best, and I'd say probably the most, shoes out of really any of the historicals. Now, that was the second version of her movie dress. The initial version of her movie dress is this one right here. I don't have this one in my collection because I don't like it. There are some elements about it that are vaguely historical. Like we have that layered skirt where the upper skirt kind of flares out a little and the lower skirt is tighter to the body. However, they have paired that with A, it's sleeveless, B, it's got this weird ruffly collar thing that makes no sense, and C, although this is a plot point in the story, it goes with a really, really large hat that also makes no sense. Now, in the book, she actually wears this dress and hat in the movie that she gets to be part of, as opposed to the other one, she is wearing it, I believe, to the movie premiere, but it's just weird. So like I can forgive it for being random costume pulled out of their stock to fit this random girl that they hadn't intended to put in the movie. I understand it in that way, except that it still doesn't make any sort of sense in any sort of historical period, but I can forgive it a little bit more knowing that it's like a movie costume as opposed to something that's actually supposed to make sense as fashion. Speaking of costumes, Rebecca has this dress, which is a hard to find one, and I really lucked out in scoring this for a good price. But this is a costume that's meant to be worn in like a theater performance. I don't know where in her stories this is meant to come in. I think maybe it's like a short story or something I haven't found. But yeah, it is a butterfly costume that's meant to be worn like in a school play. And I really, really like it. The wing portion I think is frankly pretty spot on for something that would have been done as like a butterfly costume of this era. You see smaller wings as well, but you do on adult costumes sometimes see wingspans like this. Now that said, I do think that the dress would have been a little bit different. For one thing, this is the tightest dress ever. Like this is so hard to get on her. And I feel like what we see as costumes, like something like this, for example, we see something that's a little bit shorter and even a little bit flowier a lot of times, not so tight to the body. But That said, again, we're looking at a costume here, so we can go for kind of any imaginary interpretation that you want. And frankly, I think it does a great job. It did originally come with a little circlet that has like, I think a butterfly gem on it or something like that as well. Mine didn't come with that, unfortunately. That's okay. I used a little piece of ribbon, but yeah, I think it is such a cool piece. And I'm really excited that I was able to find it. There is also an accessory set that is like a costume trunk that comes with kind of random costume pieces. I have never seen that in person, and the images online don't really show all of the different pieces, so I don't know how historically accurate any of that part is. Next up, we go back to an outfit that I love despite its historical accuracies, and that is Rebecca's play outfit. I think that this outfit is so freaking cute. Granted, a lot of that is down to the hat, and the hat is totally historically accurate. I think it's fantastic. Frankly, they did a great job with this hat. The dress itself, I can't tell if maybe they're going for like a jumper dress type look or possibly just a dress with a pinafore over it. But otherwise, I've never seen a sort of weird pinafore attached to the dress like this, because basically this is a floating layer that is only attached at the shoulders, and then it's held in place with this sash. Because of the Velcro, it is also attached in the back at the sash because the Velcro goes through that. But yeah, otherwise it's over just kind of this like shift tunic dress with a little ruffle detail. So it doesn't quite make sense as like a historical piece. It looks freaking adorable on Ruthie though. I feel like I never should take her out of this. And the boots, like they tried for button boots, but it didn't quite make it as what button boots were, like where the color delineated. Just doesn't quite do it. It did come with tights though, so bonus on that one. But yeah, it's a very, very cute dress. I think it's totally adorable. It just doesn't quite make the most sense. Now, at some point, they also decided to release a bathing suit for Rebecca, which I think is a very cute idea. Except that they missed it in the execution, because frankly, a bathing suit that looks like this is what we see in the 1920s. This was not what we were looking at in the 19-teens. That would be more like something like this. So as you can see, not quite so fitted, like not that knit fabric that we're getting in the 1920s. I do like the little detail like over here on the sides with the little gores of the contrast fabric, the stripy fabric in there. And I like, you know, the neckline detail, the waist, though again, the waist is seems a little high as well. I like that it came with boots and was expected to be worn with socks, though it would have been worn with actual stockings. And in this era, most likely it would have had a sleeve as well. This did also originally come with a little cap, like a kind of a tight fitting, I think, knit cap, which does make the overall look better, but still very, very 1920s. So I'm not sure exactly where they were going with trying to get this teens, because it is, again, very 1920s, but it's a cute piece nonetheless. And then the last two items in Rebecca's collection are her coats. So first off, we have this coat, which I do not own because I like her other coat better. And this coat, though, it's very historically accurate. And honestly, I think it's even, if we take out the idea of it trying to be fur, which I think was the idea behind this, if we think of it as wool, the shape of it is very historically accurate for the 19-teens as well. The fur, for her socioeconomic status, no. Children really did not wear fur coats unless they were inordinately wealthy. So I don't know where they were going with that, but yeah, the shape is right. The shape is also right on this coat, which is the other coat that came out later, I think during Be Forever. Again, the velvet, not for her wealth status, and all like the fur trim, not so much, but the shape is right. I like the shape of the hat, the shape of the collar, and kind of the just overall shape and detail level on the jacket, I think is really, really cute. Like, I love all the little frogs, and I do love the fur detail. We've got a little fur muff here. So it's very cute. The style is right, but just like pretty much everything else in Rebecca's collection, if we went by what her family would actually be able to afford, she would have like maybe 3 dresses. Like, there would not be all of this, and they would not be so fancy. So speaking of poor characters that live in New York and dress in a really similar way, because I'm not sure why they decided to have two characters, actually three characters, each 3 decades apart, like each one is 1 decade apart from each other, all in New York. Oddly enough, we start with Samantha, we go to Rebecca 10 years later, and then 8 years later, we go to Claudie. Claudie is one of the newest historicals to American Girl, and she is adorable. I wish that she had a better collection. So when they first released Claudie, they released her in her meat outfit with her meat accessories, and they, with that, released they released 4 outfits, I think, that were all like inspired by the 1920s, but were actually a fashion collaboration with an African-American designer. But she's a historical doll, so to me that doesn't make sense to release her with literally no historical pieces in her collection beyond her meat outfit and her PJs, which I don't talk about PJs because I don't care about PJs, to be honest. So this is her meat outfit. I think it is freaking adorable. It is totally in keeping with what she would have worn. We do get a little bit of a drop waist. By the 1920s, we do see more people starting to wear knitwear, not for sporting, although it was still more common with sporting, but she's sporting this beautiful knit sweater. It's honestly so soft. I love it. And I really appreciate that this comes with her actual meat outfit and isn't a meat accessory. And then she also has her little knee socks and her little Mary Jane shoes, which all of that, again, quite accurate. I really appreciate all of that. And I just think that she looks darling in this dress, and the accuracy is totally there. If only that would have worked for the rest of her collection. I don't own most of those pieces that are the fashion collaboration pieces, and I believe she has one outfit too, this one right here, which is like her jazz performance outfit. That one I think was intended to be historical. That was released when she was first released. It has nothing to do with anything historical except for kind of maybe the 1960s idea of what a 1920s flapper was. But no, she's a child. So no. So the only one that I have that's part of that fashion collaboration is this one right here, because it was so stunning that I could not resist. This is a fully sequined outfit that I'm probably ruining Yvette's hair by just like having it touch it. And it's beautiful. It has absolutely nothing to do with the 1920s or what Claudie would have worn. So just as an example, this is an image of a 1920s fancy dress costume. This is supposed to be like a sun fairy. And as you can see, there are some similarities to something like this, but not much. This costume is actually fully sheer, for one thing. I don't know why. Weird choice. But yeah, all of this fabric is just as sheer as you see here. Totally sheer. And it's a very short skirt, like maybe meant to be like a dance outfit because it has the little briefs attached. And then this is a little like shoulder capelet piece that is separate. And then I love the little like sun headband, and it comes with weird little sandals for some reason. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love this outfit. I think it's gorgeous. It's not from the 1920s. Likewise, we'll just really quickly skim through the other 2 fashion outfits. This is one of them right here. It's cute. It has nothing to do with the 1920s. And then this is the 3rd one right here. This one, again, I think they were going for like flapper. We know that's not a thing, especially for children. It's a cute outfit. It doesn't make any sense for Claudie. So let's take a look at her last 2 outfits that do actually make sense and frankly are pretty historically accurate. This one is my favorite. This is her travel outfit, and I think it is fantastic. This was released last summer, so a year after she was released. It is a light, I think it's actually rayon, to be honest, or maybe a cotton rayon blend, but it's a really light kind of breezy fabric that looks very much like cotton, and frankly, like we've got that beautiful drop waist. This one's nice and low too. I like how low this drop waist is. And we've got our fantastically pleated skirt. This little like sailor collar bow detail, this was everywhere in the 1920s and frankly the 19-teens and the 19-aughts. And I think even into the 1930s, like this is how children dressed. They wore sailor dresses. Parents just loved sailor dresses. And we've got the cute little like tight fitting hat, little cloche type hat. And yeah, it's pretty perfect. It came with the boots and the socks too, which I do feel like maybe in the 20s we were still a little bit more in stocking era. I feel like we didn't quite go into socks until slightly later, but you know what, at least it's something. And she's got her boots on ready for travel on dusty roads. So yeah, I think that this outfit is such perfection. And then lastly, we have her coat. I absolutely love this coat. I think it is really more of a 19-teens coat than a 1920s coat. This is one area where we did see a little bit of change. By the 20s, oddly enough, they started to belt their coats for the most part, for children. For adults, they started to do those cocoon coats that really wrapped around them. But for children, mostly you see belted coats, except on very, very small children, like toddlers. That's where they would still have this kind of A-line style. But I do really like the decorations on it, though again, we've got that like asymmetrical 19-teens things going on. I like her little tam that comes with it and the muff and like all the little fur trim. Again, someone who's about to be kicked out of their boarding house probably wouldn't be able to afford a coat like this. But then again, maybe that's why it's a 19-teens coat, because this was handed down and handed down and handed down, and it's just an 8-year-old coat that now Claudie's been able to get her hands on. So I guess in that sense, it makes sense. So yeah, that is her last outfit. That is the coat outfit, and I think it's really cute. I do really, really hope that they release more outfits for Claudie soon. Like, please, I want more. But I don't know if they have any intentions of doing that anytime soon. So anyway, those are all of the outfits in both Rebecca's and in Claudie's collections, the 1914 and 1922 eras of New York. And overall, they did a decent job, especially with Rebecca, because I do love where they literally pulled pieces from history and created them to put on your dolls. I think that's really, really fantastic. For Claudie, I'm just gonna have to keep my fingers crossed that they come out with more historical stuff for her in the future, because she deserves it. Again, if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, I will actually put a little card up right here so you can click there and watch the entire playlist. I think there are 4 other videos already. I don't know if I'm going to continue this series because frankly, it can just get more difficult, oddly enough, as we get more in the future, farther in the future. It's harder to pinpoint like years, and the advertisements tend to not be labeled with years, which is why it's harder to pinpoint years. Whereas earlier advertisements and stuff, they tended to label them better. So that's why it's taken me a while to get around to this one. And again, I don't know if I will move on to Kit or to Molly or Nenea, etc. sometime in the future. Maybe it'll happen, maybe this one will be the last, but hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube at least once a week, with usually sewing vlogs out on Tuesdays and sometimes additional content out on Saturdays, but I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi down in the description below, or you can send me a super thanks or join my YouTube channel memberships right here on YouTube below the video. I'd also like to take this time to thank all of my absolutely wonderful patrons, without whom I seriously could not do all of these videos, and particularly my patrons in the Romantic, Victorian, and Edwardian level tiers, who are Jean, Dan, Kim, Audra, Emily, Janet, Deborah, Max, Liz, Robin, Kimberly, Nurse Anita, Chaos Chan, Linda, Jen, and Dale. Thank you all so, so much. And thank you all for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!